Hurricane season is a time of heightened anxiety for Floridians. Hurricane Helene, a rapidly intensifying storm, is churning towards the Florida coast, prompting urgent preparations across the state. The storm, currently gaining strength over the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, is projected to make landfall within 48 hours. Coastal communities are on high alert, bracing for the impact of what could be a major hurricane. The National Hurricane Center is closely monitoring Helene's every move, tracking its path and intensity. The latest forecasts predict Helene will rapidly strengthen into a major hurricane before reaching Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis has already declared a state of emergency for a significant portion of the state. This declaration allows for the mobilization of resources and the coordination of emergency response efforts. Residents are being urged to take the threat seriously and finalize their preparations. Securing loose objects, stocking up on supplies, and having an evacuation plan in place are crucial steps. Time is of the essence as Hurricane Helene bears down on Florida. The next 48 hours will be critical. As Hurricane Helene barrels toward Florida's Gulf Coast, the urgency of the situation is palpable. Coastal communities, particularly those in low-lying areas vulnerable to storm surge, are facing the daunting prospect of evacuation. Local officials are issuing increasingly dire warnings, emphasizing the life-threatening danger posed by Helene's projected storm surge. Evacuation orders are being issued for several counties along Florida's Gulf Coast. The timing of these orders is crucial. Waiting too long could leave residents stranded, unable to escape the storm's wrath. Residents in evacuation zones must act swiftly, packing essential belongings and making arrangements for their families and pets. The scenes at evacuation shelters are a somber reminder of the human toll of hurricanes. Families, many with young children and elderly relatives, arrive seeking refuge from the impending storm. Evacuation routes are already experiencing heavy traffic as residents flee inland, seeking higher ground. The race against time is on, and the hope is that everyone will reach safety before Helene unleashes its fury. Hurricane Helene's projected path and intensity are causing growing concern amongst meteorologists and emergency officials. The storm, currently a Category 2 hurricane, is expected to undergo rapid intensification over the next 24 hours. Warm waters in the Gulf of Mexico, acting as fuel for the storm, are contributing to this intensification. Helene is forecast to reach major hurricane status, with winds exceeding 111 miles per hour before making landfall. The latest projections from the National Hurricane Center show Helene making landfall somewhere along Florida's Big Bend region. This area, characterized by its shallow coastline and vulnerability to storm surge, is particularly susceptible to the devastating effects of hurricanes. The potential for catastrophic damage is high. The combination of high winds, heavy rainfall, and storm surge makes Helene a formidable threat to life and property. While Florida bears the brunt of Hurricane Helene's fury, the storm's impact extends beyond the Sunshine State. As Helene tracks northward, it brings rain, strong winds, and potential tornadoes to the southeast. Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina are on alert, preparing for heavy rainfall, flooding, and power outages. Heavy rainfall is a major concern, with flash flooding possible in low-lying areas. Stay informed and be prepared to act if flooding threatens. Widespread power outages are another concern. Have a plan for power outages, including flashlights and non-perishable food. As Hurricane Helene churns towards Florida, one of the most significant threats it carries is the potential for torrential rainfall and widespread flooding. Rainfall totals of 10 to 15 inches are possible in some areas, with isolated amounts exceeding 20 inches not out of the question. This amount of rainfall in such a short period of time can overwhelm drainage systems, leading to rapid rises in water levels and widespread flooding. Low-lying areas, coastal communities, and those situated near rivers and streams are particularly vulnerable. Flash flooding, a sudden and dangerous surge of water, is a real possibility, posing a significant threat to life and property. The National Weather Service has issued flood watches and warnings for a large swath of the southeast, urging residents to be prepared for the possibility of life-threatening flooding. The heavy rainfall associated with Helene will only exacerbate the situation, potentially turning streams into raging torrents and inundating streets and homes. The Big Bend region of Florida, Helene's projected landfall zone, is a stretch of coastline that has unfortunately become all too familiar with the destructive power of hurricanes in recent years. Still reeling from the impacts of Hurricane Idalia just last year, the Big Bend now faces the daunting prospect of another major hurricane, testing the region's resilience and resources. Hurricane Idalia, a powerful Category 3 storm, slammed into the Big Bend in 2023, leaving behind a trail of destruction. Coastal communities were ravaged by storm surge, homes were reduced to rubble, and critical infrastructure was crippled. The recovery process has been slow and arduous, with many residents still struggling to rebuild their lives and communities. The arrival of Hurricane Helene, so soon after Idalia's devastation, has only amplified the challenges facing this region. Resources are stretched thin, and the emotional toll on residents is mounting. The specter of Hurricane Idalia, a storm etched in the memories of those who lived through its fury, looms large as Hurricane Helene approaches Florida's Big Bend region. Idalia, a powerful Category 3 hurricane that slammed into the Big Bend in 2023, serves as a stark reminder of the destructive potential of these storms and a harbinger of the devastation that Helene could unleash. The similarities between the two storms are striking, raising concerns that Helene could inflict a similar level of damage. Like Helene, Idalia underwent rapid intensification in the Gulf of Mexico, its winds strengthening dramatically in the hours before landfall. Idalia's most destructive legacy was its storm surge, a wall of water pushed ashore by the hurricane's powerful winds. The parallels between Idalia and Helene are undeniable, raising concerns that Helene could inflict a similar level of damage on the already battered Big Bend region. As Hurricane Helene bears down on Florida, residents face not just the storm, but a looming insurance crisis. Florida's deteriorating insurance market leaves homeowners vulnerable to financial devastation. Major insurers are pulling out or reducing coverage, citing mounting losses. Remaining insurers are raising premiums, making insurance unaffordable for many. The crisis impacts the real estate market, deterring potential buyers. Addressing climate change, rising sea levels, and litigation requires a multifaceted approach. As Hurricane Helene barrels towards Florida, it serves as a stark reminder of the growing threat posed by climate change, particularly its role in fueling more frequent and intense hurricanes. The science is clear. A warming planet is creating conditions that are increasingly conducive to the formation and intensification of these powerful storms. Rising sea temperatures, altered atmospheric patterns, and increased moisture content in the atmosphere are all contributing to a new era of hurricane activity. Warmer ocean waters provide the fuel that drives hurricane development, and as sea temperatures continue to rise, so too does the potential for storms to rapidly intensify into major hurricanes. This rapid intensification, as witnessed with recent storms like Idalia and Helene, poses significant challenges for forecasting and preparation efforts. Climate change is also contributing to rising sea levels, which exacerbates the threat of storm surge, one of the deadliest and most destructive aspects of hurricanes. Addressing this challenge will require a global effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate the impacts of a warming planet. As Hurricane Helene approaches Florida, a sense of urgency grips the state. The time for complacency has long passed. Now is the time for action, for residents to heed the warnings of officials, to finalize their preparations, and to prioritize the safety of themselves, their families, and their communities. Hurricane Helene is a powerful storm, capable of inflicting significant damage, but by taking proactive steps, we can mitigate the risks and emerge from this storm stronger and more resilient. Preparation is not just a suggestion, it's a necessity. Every Floridian has a role to play in ensuring the safety of themselves and their loved ones. This begins with staying informed about the storm's track, intensity, and potential impacts. Monitor official sources of information, such as the National Hurricane Center, local news outlets, and emergency management agencies. Heed the advice of experts and do not underestimate the potential severity of this storm. Prepare a disaster supply kit containing essential items such as water, non-perishable food, flashlights, batteries, first aid supplies, and important documents. Secure loose objects around your property that could become projectiles in high winds. As Hurricane Helene churns towards Florida, the storm's impact will reverberate long after the winds have died down. Recovery from a major hurricane is long and arduous, a testament to human resilience. Communities come together, offering support and determination to rebuild. Recovery encompasses physical rebuilding and emotional well-being. The trauma of losing homes and loved ones leaves lasting scars.